Good afternoon. Daigaho. Good afternoon. Esteemed government officials, distinguished guests, industry professionals, and all participants who have gathered here today for the Earth Forum 2024. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome each one of you to this pivotal event jointly hosted by Friends of the Earth, Financial Services Development Council, and China Sustainable Investment Forum. My name is Patricia Slavinska, and I'm from Impact Circles, and I will be your MC for today. How are you, everyone? I couldn't hear you. Good. For a happy International Earth Day, I hope that you have more energy for that, huh? So one more time, how are you, everyone? Voila. Good. As we celebrate the International Earth Day, let's ignite the spark of innovation and sustainability in the world of finance and technology, with the main focus on how to transition the economy to finance net zero. As one of the co-hosts, Friends of Earth is dedicated to forging powerful collaborations with corporations, communities, and developers to spearhead transformative initiatives. I'm proud to highlight a remarkable green initiative for today, and many of you have already seen it. So, who has such a pouch already? Hands up. Oh, so not everyone has gotten one. Well, okay, it's true. We have a limited amount. I just need to put it down here. Otherwise, I can't hold it. So, this is a unique accessory pouch. And this unique accessory pouch is a symbol of sustainability and compassion. These pouches are crafted from denim material. It's recycled, and it was generously donated by Friends of Earth's Recycle Program and Initiative. And it is a commitment that they have done for the environment and for the local communities. You will find it as well that this project has put together two social enterprises, Rice Workshop and So Glue. And they are really amazing, so please do check them out because they have done inspiring work. And what they have done is they have put together corporate gifts while employing underprivileged women. So together they have revitalized 100 pieces of denim and provided 45 hours of work to 5 local women, advancing our commitment to the circular economy. The story is truly remarkable, so I really invite everyone to scan as well the QR code, please, because later I will tell you to switch your devices off, so do it now. Okay. It is important for us to highlight this initiative so we can actually redefine corporate giving. It is important that we choose and support environmental sustainability and social empowerment. Together, let's treat the earth as we treat our family and our friends, with respect and care. Now, did everyone take the QR code, scan the QR code? Good, great. Take as well a picture and send it to all your friends. Now, for a bit of light-hearted guidance, I would love to invite everyone as well to practice actually sustainability and to switch or mute your devices so we can actually have a little bit of the energy conservation. Because what we really would like to have for today's show, when we hear any rings or beeps, are the ones that are the figurative one, where we exchange breaking and inspiring information. Once again, Thank you everyone for being here today and that we are making an inspiring day. Let's see this forum as an exchange of ideas, but let's bring it as well into practice. It is important to remember that we have to innovate, inspire, and integrate sustainability into our blueprint for our future. Welcome to the Forum, Earth Forum 2024. And now, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, without any further ado, it is my privilege to welcome somebody that I have a lot of respect for, Mr. Plato Heap, the chairperson of the Friends of Earth. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The Honorable Financial Secretary, Mr. Po Chen, Daniel, King, Li Hangzhang, Zhang Hangzhang, Marcus, Dr. Guo, distinguished panelists, guests, and online participants. We do have a lot of online participants today. Speaking on behalf of the organizers and supporting organizations of the Earth Forum 2024, I'm honored to extend a warm welcome to all of you. Today marks Earth Day, a momentous occasion observed over in 190 countries, rallying everyone to take action for a healthier planet and a brighter future. Last year, Friends of the Earth celebrated its 40th anniversary, reaffirming our commitment as a leading environmental advocate and sustainability trailblazer in Hong Kong. We are dedicated to promoting climate resilience, carbon neutrality, livability, green economy, and sustainable finance. As a grassroots NGO based in Hong Kong, Friends of the Earth embarked on its journey into green finance with a humble beginning. Roughly 25 years ago, we joined forces with the World Resources Institute for the Business Environment Learning Leadership Program in China. Today, while we continue to prioritize green finance education and professional training, our efforts have expanded, leading to some more meaningful accomplishments. Partnering with the FS Certified ESG Analyst CESCA program in Hong Kong, we have nurtured a community of over 1,300 CESCA graduates, ranking us, Hong Kong, at the top globally. Special thanks to the Hong Kong SAR government, because without the pilot green and sustainable finance capacity building support scheme, we cannot be at the forefront globally. Thank you. Through this collaboration, we provide comprehensive training and certification opportunities, empowering professionals to navigate the complexities of ESG factors in investment decision-making. This initiative not only enhances the skill set of individuals, but also contributes to the advancement of sustainable finance practices in the region and beyond. If we look at the supporting organizations this year, we can discern a manifest eagerness to engage in conversations about today's themes. As colleagues in the ESG community, our aim is to continuously explore new opportunities and tackle challenges within the financial sector. Our collective goal is to stay ahead of the curve and lead industries toward a more sustainable future. At the organizational level, our priority is to enhance the capacity of small to medium enterprises. Therefore, we have established the SME ESG Best Practices Recognition Program in collaboration with the Dasim Bank. In addition, we are launching the Corporate Climate Index in collaboration with the CU Hong Kong Center for Business Sustainability. This index aims to evaluate the climate initiatives of listed companies across industries, providing valuable information for investors and regulators alike. It will also play a crucial role in raising public awareness concerning corporate climate performance. Friends of the Earth is deeply grateful for the invaluable support provided by the Ministry of Ecology and Environment of the central government, especially the encouragement extended by the Special Envoy for Climate Change, Mr. Xie Zhenhua. Our recent accreditation as a UNEP observer status marks a significant milestone for us, granting us the autonomy to actively participate in UNEP initiatives, international environmental treaties, and COP decisions. This recognition reinforces our unwavering commitment to environmental advocacy and enhances our ability to make meaningful contributions to global sustainability and environmental protection agenda. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our long-term partner, the FSDC, the Financial Services Development Council, for co-organizing this Earth Forum for the third consecutive year. Our collaboration has seen us delve into topics ranging from carbon trading mechanisms to utilizing fintech to prevent greenwashing, and now to this year's theme on transition finance towards zero economy, towards a net zero economy. We have established our presence in Hong Kong, Beijing, and the Middle East through partnerships actively promoting and showcasing Hong Kong's green and sustainable finance initiatives, embodying the true essence of Hong Kong spirit. Special thanks also go to the China Sustainable Investment Forum for co-organizing the Asia Sustainable Finance Roundtable during the World Investment Forum in Abu Dhabi last year. Your continued support and collaboration are invaluable in advancing our shared goals in promoting sustainability and responsible investment practices. Thank you, Dr. Guo. We extend our sincere appreciations to Invest Hong Kong for their support in hosting a special matching session just this morning. The event effectively united companies specializing in green technologies from China with the goal of setting up offices in Hong Kong as their base for business ventures in MENA, ASEAN, and Belt and Road countries. This collaborative initiative seeks to foster international partnerships and promote sustainable development across regions, thereby solidifying Hong Kong's position as a strategic hub for green innovation and business expansion. Once again, we deeply appreciate the support of FSDC and China CIF for co-organizing this event. I also thank Shanghai Pudong Development Bank for providing this excellent venue. 张行长，非常感谢。Invest Hong Kong and Bank of Communication for their kind sponsorship. Lastly, I extend my sincere gratitude to all supporting organizations whose invaluable contributions have been pivotal in ensuring the resounding success of this event. Your steadfast support has rendered this gathering both informative and impactful. I look forward to insightful discussions we will engage in today. Let us depart from this Earth Forum feeling inspired and empowered. Hong Kong is primed to lead the way in driving positive change in transition finance for our planet. Let's work together to build a more sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you, Plato. Indeed, we all play a crucial role for our sustainable future, and it is very inspiring, all the initiatives. So thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the moment. Let's give a big welcome to our distinguished guest, the Honorable Mr. Paul Chen, JP, Financial Secretary of the Government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. Please, a welcome. Thank you.
华京东博士 Daniel 郭佩元博士 Plato King, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to this meaningful occasion to discuss the important topic of transition finance on this very important day, Earth Day. We are witnessing extreme climate events unfolding before our eyes. Indeed, the World Meteorological Organization, or WMO, confirmed that 2023 was the hottest year on record by clear margin. Here in Hong Kong, 2023 was also the second warmest year on record. As cliche as it may sound, we are all in this together. Countries and governments have set clear goals to reach carbon neutrality and enhance their climate resilience. That, of course, includes our country, China, which has set a clear roadmap to achieving carbon neutrality by 2060. And Hong Kong is determined to achieve that target by 2050. Net zero transition warrants a whole-of-economy approach, covering various aspects of economic activities and daily life. It is not just about investing in green sectors and projects. It is also about assisting carbon-intensive industries in their net zero transition. And this is the essence of transition finance. The International Energy Agency has projected that the global energy transition finance gap will reach $3 trillion a year by 2030 and rise to $4.5 trillion a year in 2040. According to the World Bank, China would need to invest approximately $14 trillion in additional investment before 2060 in the power and transport sectors alone. The funding gap is indeed huge. Another challenge is the investment appetite in transition finance. ESG investing has become a mainstream strategy of investors and businesses globally. However, ESG as a commonly used asset allocation strategy tends to exclude high-emitting sectors such as fossil fuel-related companies and heavy polluting industries like steel, chemicals, shipping, and cement. While this approach has effectively pressured such industries to transform and to invest in less polluting energies and technologies, they also need financing to accomplish the transition process. For developing countries, the need for transition investment is acute, as their growth may be highly driven by energy and commodity prices. They need a pathway that does not come at the expenses of socio-economic development. They also face changing international policy landscape, such as carbon tariffs imposed on imported goods by places like the European Union. Estimates have suggested that energy transition-related investments had exceeded $2 trillion in 2023, but only about half of that has gone to developing countries. As an international financial center, Hong Kong gathers the top-class financial institutions with very deep liquidity. We have the expertise, infrastructure, and regulatory framework that support international investors and different transition projects. We are the gateway that connects capital flows and green projects, not only within the territory, but also in the border region. With the industry's support, Hong Kong has made significant strides in the space of green and sustainable finance. In the past 3 years, the average annual green and sustainable debt issue in Hong Kong reached over $60 billion, while the relevant bonds issued by us, accounting for about 1/3 of Asia's total market. Here in Hong Kong, there are around 220 ESG funds, and the asset under its management reach about $170 billion. The government has also been striving to enrich our green investment products and encourage more international issuers to make use of Hong Kong's green fundraising platform. That includes the government's issuance of green bonds in multiple currencies and tenures since 2019, totaling over $25 billion. We also take the lead in rolling out innovative products to meet market appetite, such as issuing digital green bonds and securitized infrastructure projects in different regions of the world. Separately, we offer subsidies to green bond issuers and loan borrowers to cover their expenses on bond issuance and the subsequent external reviews. Just in this year's budget, I have extended the subsidy scheme to cover also transition finance. And I believe we can do more. There is clearly room to explore how Hong Kong could better help channeling capital to support the transition of high transmitting sectors and heavy polluting industries in the region. For example, to promote transparency across different financial markets so as to enable consistent decision-making in green and sustainable investments to avoid greenwashing or transition washing, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority is drawing up a local green classification framework that will align with the Common Ground taxonomy adopted by the mainland and the European Union. The framework will be released very soon, and the next phase will focus on the inclusion of transition activities. Our efforts to align with international standards also include sustainability disclosure. While we all look forward to the speech on ISSB's standards by Dr. Hua, allow me to report the latest progress of Hong Kong in this regard. In the light of the first set of international financial reporting standards published by the ISSB last year, we have made an open commitment to developing a roadmap to adopt the ISSB standards. Our target is to launch it within this year. This will put Hong Kong among the first jurisdictions to adopt the ISSB standards. In this regard, the FSTB, Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau, launched last month a vision statement that emphasizes our determination to develop a comprehensive ecosystem on sustainability disclosure that includes driving cross-sectoral observance of the ISSB standards under a phased implementation approach, developing sustainability assurance standards, capacity building to support the financial industries and companies, and facilitating the use of technological solutions in sustainability reporting. Ladies and gentlemen, transition finance is not just an investment strategy. It is a catalyst for positive change. Hong Kong has the opportunity to lead in this area and positioned ourselves as a hub for sustainable investments. Let us seize this opportunity, embrace the challenges, and work towards a greener, more resilient future for Hong Kong and the planet. I thank the FSDC and the China Sustainable Investment Forum, and of course, Fans of the Earth, for organizing this meaningful forum, providing a valuable discussion platform for this topic. I wish you all a fruitful event on this special day and the best of health and green businesses in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chen, for the inspiring speech. Please remain on the stage. We will ask as well other panelists and guests here, distinguished guests. Mr. Plato Yip, Chairperson, Friends of the Earth. Mr. Daniel Fung, JP Financial Services Development Council. Dr. King, Executive Director, Financial Services Development Council. Dr. Peiyun Guo, Chairman of China Sustainable Investment Forum. Please smile for the picture. For the next picture, I would like to invite the representatives from our sponsors and panel moderators to the stage. Mr. King Leung, Global Head of Financial Services and FinTech, Invest Hong Kong. Mrs. Li Chang, Chief Executive, Shanghai Pudong Development Bank. Mr. Marcus Wong, Corporate Business Management Development General Manager. Mr. Anthony Chang, Seska, thank you, yes. And now for our last group photo, may I invite today's panelists from our two panel discussions to join us on the stage. Please come, everyone. It's a long list to name you all separately, I'm sorry. And as well, the CEO of from the Friends of the Earth, Dr. Jeffrey Hung, please join us. And here, yes, please come. I would like to invite you to the first step, yes. And all the panelists, please join them behind. Yes, please, come. Thank you. Good. I think we are already done. Thank you so much. Thank you. A round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we are now honored to introduce our next keynote speaker, Mr. Daniel Fung, JP Vice Chairman, Financial Services Development Council, to deliver his speech on the theme of mobilizing global financial resources for climate transition action. Please help me to welcome him.
Thank you so much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here this afternoon. The Financial Secretary has pressing alternative engagements, so unfortunately he has to leave us. But I'm pleased to address this distinguished audience on behalf of the Financial Services Development Council, as well as our co-hosts, Friends of the Earth, Hong Kong, and the China Sustainable Investment Forum. A very warm welcome to all of you and leaders and experts in the audience to the Earth Forum 2024 on Earth Day 2024. And we are here to explore sustainable pathways that will shape our future and indeed the planet's future. I would like to thank the Financial Secretary for being with us today as guest of honor. 3 years ago, the Financial Services Development Council embarked on a truly visionary journey with Friends of the Earth to collaborate in hosting this important forum. which has since then become a cornerstone of Hong Kong's commitment to sustainable development. This collaboration has grown in depth and scope, leading us to another significant milestone where at the end of last year, we co-hosted with Friends of the Earth in Dubai at the China Pavilion of COP28, a platform to showcase Hong Kong's efforts in sustainable finance on the global stage. It's with this enormous personal pleasure that we convene or reconvene in Hong Kong to mark the 3rd anniversary of FSDC's Enriching Collaboration with Friends of the Earth. This year, the theme, as we all know, is transition finance towards a net zero economy, which is both timely and critical in addressing the urgent challenges posed by the current global environment and economic landscape. We find ourselves at a critical juncture in our quest for sustainability. The urgency of our quest was highlighted at the end of the last year at COP28 when the UAE made a declaration on a global climate finance framework for the entire world. This declaration emphasizes the necessity for fostering climate resilient, nature positive economies and ensuring a just transition to net zero economies. The UAE declaration serves as a reminder of our responsibilities as human beings and inhabitants on planet Earth and the urgent actions required to address effectively climate change. The transition towards a net zero economy is not just an environmental necessity, but is also a significant economic opportunity. Market analyses suggest that transitioning to a world with net zero emissions could unlock investment opportunities amounting to almost 200 trillion US dollars by 2050, which translates into an amount nearer 7 trillion US dollars annually. These figures represent more than mere projections. They constitute a clarion call for immediate and sustained efforts to mobilize global financial resources. In the realm of transition finance, all of us play a pivotal role in moving away from carbon-intensive practices towards sustainable, low-carbon technologies and processes. This involves significant investments in renewable energy, in energy efficiency, and in essential low-carbon transportation and infrastructure, and many other spheres. Transition finance aims to transform the entire economic landscape, particularly those in the energy and transportation dimensions, which have always been traditionally been responsible for high carbon emissions. Such investments foster innovation in clean technologies and bolster energy security by reducing our dependence on fossil fuels. Achieving a seamless transition requires the concerted efforts of both the public and the private sectors. Whereas we anticipate an increase in public investment, we also recognize that public investment is likely to fall short of what is actually needed to meet our ambitious climate goals. Projections indicate that private finance will be needed to cover approximately 80% of the necessary investments, thereby highlighting the absolutely critical role of private capital in the global shift towards sustainability. Hong Kong's established position as a global financial center and a hub for capital formation uniquely qualifies us to take the lead in green technology and the finance revolution. By capitalizing on our abundant and deep capital pool, sourced from both local and international financial communities, and by the growing presence of family offices hubbed in Hong Kong committed to impact investing. Hong Kong provides a robust foundation for expanding finance opportunities to both well-established companies as well as promising startups in the green technology sphere. This surge in funding is vital for scaling these enterprises and for accelerating their contributions to global sustainability efforts. Further, the Hong Kong government's strategic initiatives to promote fintech also play a critical role in supporting this transition. These initiatives include incentives for talent development, financial support for innovative projects, creating a fertile environment for the growth and development of potential green tech companies. With our financial expertise and our proactive engagement with investors and strategic investors, Hong Kong has the unique potential to develop itself as the leader in the global transition finance field. As we engage in today's discussions, let us be driven by the urgency of our times and our mission, the pivotal role that finance plays in achieving a sustainable future, and additionally, let us also recognize the profound importance of our financial decisions and investments in shaping that future, including the future of planet Earth. Our actions today will determine the world we live in tomorrow, and the world our children and grandchildren will live in, underscoring the need for strategic, impactful, and forward-thinking approaches in our financial practices and policies. Finally, I wish you all a most productive and stimulating discussion this afternoon, and I harbor the confidence that this afternoon's engagement will be both informative and inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Fong, for the enlightening speech. Thank you so much. Now, let me introduce the next keynote speaker, Mr. Jingdong Hua, Vice Chair of the ISSB, who will deliver a virtual keynote on enhancing sustainability and climate disclosure through ISSB standards. A round of applause, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hua Jingdong, Vice Chair of the International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB. It is my honor to speak here today, thanks to the invitation from China SIF on this significant day, Global Earth Day. We gather here at a crucial juncture amidst increasingly severe weather events that underscore investor demand for understanding the risks and opportunities associated with climate change. From floods disrupting global supply chains to hurricanes devastating infrastructures, climate-related risks and opportunities are inducing substantial financial instability. Many financial institutions are using sustainability-related disclosures to inform their investment decisions. For some, this includes acting as a catalyst in the shift towards a sustainable economy by channeling vast sums of capital into renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and green technologies. By embedding sustainability-related risks into investor decision-making, not only are these institutions safeguarding themselves, but they are also supporting the effective functioning of capital markets, efficient capital allocation, and global financial stability. Transparency is crucial for providing investors with the information they need to make informed decisions. Comparable and reliable disclosure is vital for functioning markets. It enhances investment decisions and promotes the efficient allocation of capital. Most importantly, it builds investor trust and confidence, which are fundamental to the stability of financial systems. The ISSB was established precisely to develop and enforce a comprehensive global baseline of sustainability-related disclosure the markets can rely upon. Since the introduction of the IFRS S1 and S2 standards, we have witnessed tremendous support from various stakeholders, including corporations aligning voluntarily with our standards and new regulations being put in place across jurisdictions. The ISSB is advancing work to determine our priorities going forward. One key priority for us is supporting the implementation of IFRS S1 and IFRS S2, including supporting regulatory adoption or other use of ISSB standard, and supporting companies that might voluntarily apply ISSB standard to deliver decision-useful sustainability-related information to investors. On 22nd of February, at the IFRS Sustainability Symposium in New York City, the IFRS Foundation published the preview of the inaugural jurisdictional guide for the adoption or other use of ISSB standard, aiming to support jurisdictions as they design and plan their journey to adopt the ISSB standards. Over 1,000 companies, investors, regulators, and other stakeholders from more than 50 jurisdictions witnessed the publication as a symposium. It is clear that the global financial community is closely monitoring the incorporation of these standards into national regulatory frameworks. This year has seen significant strides in regulatory integration of ISSB standards across various jurisdictions. In Australia, the National Treasury introduced legislation mandating climate disclosure, stating their intention to align national standards closely with ISSB standards, while adapting to local environmental climate nuances. Similarly, the Singapore Stock Exchange has just concluded a consultation on details of how the ISSB standards are to be incorporated into its sustainability reporting rules for climate-related disclosures. The proposals are for issuers to refer to both the ISSB's IFRS S1 and IFRS S2 in preparing climate-related disclosures from 2025. In North America, the Canadian Sustainability Standards Board, CSSB, has released exposure drafts based on ISSB standards, with some brief extensions to transition reliefs. Over in Japan, the Sustainability Standards Board's SSBJ has published exposure drafts that incorporates ISSB standards. The SSBJ decided to incorporate all requirements in IFRS S1 and IFRS S2, and to add, when considered necessary, any jurisdiction-specific options the entity can choose to apply. These examples showcase strong global momentum towards unified, transparent sustainability disclosures utilizing the ISSB standards. Recently, during my visit to Hong Kong, I heard about the local government's commitment to aligning their sustainability disclosure requirements with the ISSB standards. Looking ahead, our focus remains clear. We will continue to support the adoption, implementation of our standards across jurisdictions and assist the corporations in complying with them voluntarily. For financial sector, we were pleased that the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision decided to propose disclosures that build on IFRS S2, which will provide efficient and cost-effective solutions for preparers. We continue to coordinate relevant aspects of our work with prudential regulators and the Basel Committee in particular. The support of implementing IFRS S1 and IFRS S2, including through educational activities and advancing the IFRS Foundation's capacity building program to help ensure companies, regulators, and other stakeholders are better placed to use the ISSB standards. We are gathering feedback from regulators and industry players to ensure that our support meets the emergent needs as they learn and implement our standards. In conclusion, by embracing and promoting transparency through enhanced sustainability disclosures as required by ISSB standards, we can shape reporting norms to align with the realities of the risks and opportunities associated with climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hua. And ladies and gentlemen, now as we transition from visionary thoughts to actionable discussion, it's time for our first panel discussion of the day. How to manage transition risks and ensure robust climate-related financial disclosure. We are privileged to have with us a panel of esteemed experts who are at the forefront of finance and sustainability, led by our esteemed moderator, Mr. Anthony Cheung, CESCA EFAS representative, Asia Pacific, and together with the panelists from Sintao Green Finance International, Securities and Futures Commission, Asia Investor Group on Climate Change, Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and Asia Securities Industry and Financial Markets Association, who will steer this insightful dialogue. A round of applause for our speakers, please. Thank you.
Please be seated, fellow panelists. So a very good afternoon, everyone, for those in Asia, and a very good morning in Europe. This is Anthony. I'm the EFAS representative in Asia. 6 weeks ago, EFAS just held its inaugural Asia Forum in Hong Kong, and we have got tremendous support from the FSTB and also FSDC. And today, 6 weeks later, we are having the Earth Forum, and then we are, compared to last time, we have got standard setter from the European EFRAG board chair and Greenhouse Gas Protocol chair. We've got the ISSB board member to share with us the latest developments. And what we really want to find out more is the big part about how transition risk being managed and what is the right approach for it. And throughout organizing this panel, I'm very excited that we have got the most seasoned lineup of the panels here in town. I will use my own words to introduce one of them very quickly. Dr. Stan Ho, as the chief representative of Sintao, I actually know him from the educator space. I think he is one of the most passionate educators that I've seen in building capacity in sustainable finance, and has served in many universities as a adjunct professor. Christine, obviously taking care of the regulatory side on sustainable finance, and also in very important hats that she looks after is the international part of the regulators. And hence, thank you for having kind hospitality for the EFAS board visits 6 weeks ago. Valerie, wow. Well, this is amazing. In layman's word, she basically runs or looks after the network for the institutional investors or fund managers, so all the large asset owners or asset managers globally in take care of climate action, okay? The joke said that both she and I are based in Hong Kong, but we have only met or catch up outside Hong Kong. So last time, I think we have the A4S symposium in Tokyo, where just echoed the SSBJ consultation that Dr. Hua has just shared. Roy, as the president of the HKICPA, the standard setter, but at the same time would be able to share with us the professional association and also the whole profession's, efforts and commitment of driving transition. So thank you very much, Roy. And last but not least, Diana. We first met at the IFC CBF forum, and Diana has been taking care of public policy and also sustainable finance for ASIFMA, a very important a regional association, but also part of a global initiative. And there's a lot of important consultation that ASIFMA have been driving, not just the regulators or authorities in Hong Kong, but beyond across Asia Pacific region. So a round of applause for our panels today. Now, thank you. So as an introduction, we have to start off with the climate-related financial disclosure, which form the basis of this very discussion. And we need to talk about transition risk management. And I mean, allow me as an investor to play the like the devil's advocate to start with, can climate-related financial disclosure really address and could mitigate transition risk? And we would love to know more about, how to really achieve that and do that in practice. So if I may invite Diana to share first, followed by Stan and Valerie.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here on this very important day and really great event. Thank you. So climate disclosure and managing and mitigating transition risk. Two things which on the surface might not seem immediately related. However, as you know, and as we all know, everything starts with actually understanding the problem. And understanding the problem, you need to be clear and open about the problem. So climate disclosure secures something which is fundamental in anything, I would say, transparency. And for financial sector and for financial service, transparency is the start of everything, is the start of trust between investors and investees, between the wider public, between the whole community. So although I wouldn't go that far to say that disclosure could address and really deliver on transition, it's the element within which transition cannot start. So I think that's where we have to focus and really appreciate the fact that there's so many initiatives that have been going on in the past several years to actually align on disclosure and make sure that the transparency, accountability, interoperability and comparability between the data that we all rely upon is being pushed forward. So that's, I think, the fundamental start on disclosure and transition.
Thank you, Diana. As a background, would the credit analyst would agree with that?
Well, again, first of all, thank you, everyone. Good to see everyone today. Also want to thank you, SPDB, because I think as a panel, I can also see the wonderful view when we are actually talking. My background is actually not in credit rating, but also in green financing, in particular external review. So I'm more focused on the taxonomy. I think everyone knows that when we talk about the taxonomy, you can have the principle based, like the green loan, green bond principle. You can also talk about the whitelist, like the China Green Bond Project Catalog, or even again can go to the what we call the screening, like the EU taxonomy. Now, of course, today I'm not going to talk about the advantage or disadvantage of each one of these. You can actually find this in Google search. But I think what I just want to highlight is when we actually talk about how taxonomy can actually help, again, address the transition risk, I think it's actually quite important to have more guidance in terms of the definition or even in terms of the maybe example. Again, I don't want to always compare Hong Kong to Singapore, but I think we know that Singapore last year, is actually the last day of last year. They may have the KPI. They actually published the Singapore Asian Taxonomy, which I think we all know that they're using what we usually call the traffic light system. So they may have the green activity, which again, they will actually talk about is really like LEAR, the zero carbon emission activity, maybe on the 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway. But I think important, they also have the AMBER that actually talk about maybe some brownfield, maybe some actually not on the 1.5 degrees Celsius, but also moving towards that. So I think the first thing I want to say is from the taxonomy perspective, I think it's important, especially for us as a market participant to get more guidance either from the government or the regulator, actually what constitute green, what constitute amber, and of course what constitute the maybe the reject one. But I think it's also quite important. We can actually talk about what we want to do, but everything is actually meaningless without a timeline or deadline, because we can't afford transiting forever. So that's why, again, it's also important. If you look at the Singapore Asian Taxonomy, they also have, I can't remember the exact year, like 2030 or 2035 for certain industry when they set at the sunset day. So I think my maybe my short conclusion is, again, it's important to, I believe taxonomy can actually help address the transition risk, but only when we have more guidance in terms of definition, example, and also very clear the deadline as well. So that's why, again, as a Hong Kong Chinese, I'm still waiting for 11 months for us in Hong Kong to actually have our own green taxonomy, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. So we need a timeline and deadline. And what, in addition to that, Valerie?
Thank you, Anthony. It's such a pleasure to be on your panel. And I think I will sort of converge some of the points from both of the two esteemed panelists just now, because definitely looking at disclosure as a start is always useful to give us some insight as to how ready the companies are to the transition. But as Stan also referred to, the taxonomies are equally important to get us to look into the projects in terms of how they fit into the various taxonomies to understand how ready they are for the transition. Now, as part of our work at Asia Investor Group on climate change, supporting the Climate Action 100+ initiative, we have lots of opportunities to work very close with investors to engage with companies directly. And that opportunity has given us a lot more insight as to where companies really are, and it gives us much more detailed insight. And I can cite some examples because as part of that exercise, we have the company benchmark. In the past, we've had a TCFD disclosure framework sort of indicator, which now is over time going to be integrated with the ISSB standards as well, for sure. And with the past data that we've been looking at, globally, we are looking at 86% of the companies that we're engaging with that have received or at least committed to some form of TCFD disclosure recommendation. So there is in terms of getting to the critical mass, I think we're already there in terms of getting to the baseline of understanding where disclosures are at. But then when we, given that is a great base, but then the next step that investors typically would want to then get into is to really understand behind all of that disclosure, what does it really mean? What are the additional metrics that would be useful for investors when they engage with companies to understand whether they, get a better gauge of whether they're ready for the transition. And these, we've gathered other set of data from investors' engagement plans and understood that typically for companies in Asia, there are a few metrics that investors do care a lot about. First of all, it would be on target setting to understand how ambitious targets are being set for the companies that they engage with. And then also their decarbonization strategy and also capital allocation. Because without fully understanding where that capital is being allocated into, it doesn't really speak in very specific terms the level of commitment that the companies have in terms of committing for the transition. And so all of these are depending on how how far along the engagement has gone into. These take varying levels of importance in investors' engagement. And I would say for that reason, we are already at a stage where we're ready to go beyond reporting, go beyond what sort of the baseline expectations that's stipulated in regulations. And what investors are looking for is really the company's ability to demonstrate whether they have adopted that market lens to understand their own company's role in the transition, to demonstrate that they're ready to sort of to support the transition, to support the decarbonization, but also understand what the transition to net zero would mean to them as a company. So I think that is where the interaction is starting to be between the investors' communication with the companies, and I find that really interesting.
Thank you, Valerie. So essentially, a lot of institutional investors' expectations have shifted beyond, what is the historical disclosure of what's the carbon footprinting, but beyond that, and what is the trajectory and the actual works and milestones that needed to be completed. So for those of you who will be interested how institutional investors would be able to do that, either Google the AIGCC or the Climate Action 100 website. There are also frameworks and also a lot of useful resources in telling how financial institutions in achieving that and help decarbonizing the portfolio. I myself, my firm, and my team has actually benefited a lot from all those frameworks. So thank you very much. So the next thing, we are going to move to standard setting and also regulation. Now, we know that there's a lot of regulatory developments over the past few years from the regulator and also exchanges, and we would love to learn, a bit more about the key trends and development on that, and how could regulators and standard setters could work together to, first of all, obviously address the potential greenwashing or transition washing risk, as the Financial Secretary has previously mentioned, and to also ensure the demographics of some of these ESG products that we are seeing more and more in the market could accurately reflect the underlying characteristics in terms of sustainability. So could Christine, share some insights with us?
Right. Thanks very much, Anthony. Thank you so much to the Friends of the Earth, to FSDC, and also to China CIF for having me. I will talk briefly about the development on the regulation front. So basically, in the past couple of years, the SFC has been, really focusing on enhancing the ESG, particularly, climate disclosure requirements. So this is really key to market regulators as us, because we believe that, reliable and also comparable climate and ESG disclosure would be crucial to investors when they make, informed investment decisions. So we've been working very closely with the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in enhancing the, disclosure requirements for listed companies. So as the Financial Secretary alluded to just now, a vision statement was put out by the Hong Kong government very recently. Because, the aim is really for Hong Kong to be one of the first few jurisdictions in the world to adopt the standards put out by the ISSB, the International Sustainability Standards Board. So the SFC is very supportive, and particularly given our leadership role on the IOSCO, which is the International Organization for Securities Commissions. We've been co-chairing the corporate reporting workstream and also the vice chair of the what we call the Sustainable Task Force of the IOSCO. So, we believe that it's very important for Hong Kong to adopt this ISSB standard as a global baseline for sustainability disclosure. And it's also crucial that, Hong Kong adopt the international standards because, we want to boost investors' confidence in our sustainable market, as well as to ensure there's a fair and orderly market here. So just for those who might not be entirely familiar with IOSCO, it is a network of over 130 market regulators like the SFC globally. So maybe I can go in a little bit more about, the approach that Hong Kong is taking in terms of how we, embed the ISSB standards in Hong Kong. So there is this two-pronged approach. The first approach is, the first step, I should say, is really for the Hong Kong Stock Exchange to enhance its climate reporting standards. So meaning that that will give Hong Kong listed companies a head start in doing, climate reporting. So you might have seen that only last Friday, the Stock Exchange issued its conclusion on the climate reporting requirements, referencing the S1, the S2 of the ISSB standards. And it also published an implementation guide based on the S1 of the ISSB standards to assist listed companies to do their climate reporting. So in the longer term, it's really for Hong Kong to come up with a, to develop a comprehensive sustainability disclosure ecosystem. So a working group has just been set up by the Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau, and also by the SFC, together with, members of the Green and Sustainable Finance Cross-Agency Steering Group, to build this ecosystem. So meaning that apart from setting up reporting standards, we also need to look at ESG assurance, as well as look into data and technology, as well as capacity building. Maybe I think Roy will talk a bit more about the role of the Hong Kong ICPA and all this in a bit. So in terms of tackling greenwashing, that's again a priority of the SFC. So we have enhanced our requirements in relation to disclosure of ESG-related products back in 2021. So the idea is really to put in place, clearer requirements around the disclosure of, a fund's investment focus, characteristics, risk and features and all that. Again, to ensure that, investors get all the information they need before they make informed decisions. And the other aspect in relation to tackling greenwashing is really to, enhance our fund manager code of conduct. So meaning that the asset managers are now required to take into account climate-related financial risks in their investment, and also in their risk management processes. So maybe I'll stop here for now. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Thank you for having me today. I think to answer this question is really about how we enhance transparency and consistency of information, and also the accountability for it. I think in the context of Hong Kong as an international financial center, it's obviously very important for us to have a set of standards based on the global baseline. And so for the HKICPA, obviously we are very happy to hear about the government's commitment to that, and more importantly, for us to be named as the sustainability standard setter, just as part of our role in issuing accounting and auditing standards. Now, as a standard setter, it's not just about issuing the standard and that's it. I think there are at least 3 different roles that we are seeing that we will be playing active role, being stakeholder engagement, capacity building, and also advocating best practices. So on stakeholder engagement, we are actually very actively involved in a lot of stakeholder engagement exercise to put the perspective of Hong Kong, or the special circumstances of Hong Kong, in deciding the sustainability standards here, and also more importantly in issuing application guidance. On capability building, the HKICPA is a member of the Partnership Framework for Capability Building under ISSB. So we do hold a lot of seminars, training, and make available resources for different stakeholders. And there is one important piece of activity that I'd like to share in particular, in that we do plan to launch a platform for stakeholders, not just HKICPA members, to submit their questions on sustainability standards, so that we have a platform and a community to address these implementation issues together, and I think that's really important. Finally, I refer to advocating best practices. One of the future direction that we're advocating is obviously assurance. And I have to say, with assurance, it's not just that the investors seeing the assurance report and getting some comfort. It's really all the work behind the scene, having the preparers, having all the audit trails and the accountability for the accuracy of information, and also the drive to continuously improve. So hopefully with those kind of work under the Institute, we will contribute to enhancing transparency, consistency, and accountability that I referred to earlier.
Thank you, Roy and Christine. I think we have heard that how regulators and standard setters are doing a lot of work over the past few years behind the scene, including a lot of active involvement with IOSCO. And I think one of a very key point for how that's being integrated together, we have keep hearing about ISSB and IOSCO, is that ISSB is part of the IFRS Foundation, which in the governance framework, IOSCO as the international federations of all the regulators are actually having a governance role on IFRS, and hence, when these rules are being rolled out, it's not just being rolled out in Hong Kong or several jurisdictions, but across or over 100, jurisdictions at the same time in order to take or tackle the transition risk together.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, IOSCO actually endorsed the ISSB standards last year. So that actually sent a signal, as Anthony mentioned, to all of its 130 member jurisdictions that they should be considering, embedding ISSB standards, locally. So that's what we're doing.
And we are one of the earliest jurisdictions in
Absolutely.
adopting. Thank you. So next we'll move to the feedback, from the industry side, whether there are some exemplary examples, or if we take it to the next level, any lessons to be learned of some of these developments over the past few years. I mean, Diana, I'm sure you have got some interesting insights from the members or from the organizers, from ASIFMA that would be able to share with us.
Absolutely. We just for for those that do not know who ASIFMA is, we represent almost 170 industry representatives from both buy and sell side. So we hear a lot from our member firms with regard to their journey to sustainability, how they use data, how they use the disclosure standards. So one of the things that has to be taken into account is that when we're talking about financial services, this is one of the most heavily and long-term regulated industry. So our members are very used to have regulation, and they're very comfortable with it. So although we might comment on all of the suggestions that come from the government and from the regulators, we actually love having uniform standards, because this is what is the glue between the financial services globally. So since we're on a very long journey, which starts now and will finish decades ahead of us, we want to make sure that we all walk the same path and we all understand each other. And in that respect, disclosure standards are super important. And again, having IOSCO endorsing the ISSB standards, having Hong Kong and a few others pioneering how this is going to happen in practice is super important. And in all our discussions with security regulators, with central banks, with other stakeholders, we always advocate that the closer alignment within a single standard is the best thing for us. And the sooner we reach a comfortable position whereby all of us, the corporates that have to report, the financial sector that has to use this data, and broadly the community and the governments which will rely and will measure their their journey towards net zero, the better is for all of us. And I would like to congratulate Hong Kong Exchange for their pioneering work, and it's been a long journey. They started before ISSB was already announced yet. So it's really great to hear that the final product is here, and we look forward for many more jurisdictions in the region and globally to follow suit. Because again, as you know, things in Europe and US do not look exactly the same, and this is going to create a problem for investors and for global firms if we cannot reach close enough understanding about what and how needs to be disclosed. So probably stop here.
Thank you, Diana. And I would love to learn a bit more about the businesses in China. Stan, I know Singtao is definitely expert at helping corporates in decarbonization, for Chinese businesses for years. So you could share with us a bit more.
Yes, actually in my 25 years experience, in particular in the past 7 years, I have a lot of opportunity to deal with a lot of, again from the bond rating perspective, the mainland Chinese issuers. So I think maybe mainly as for Nanhe in the first 6 years and recently with Sintal. Again, when you talk about maybe like climate risk, maybe disclosure, I think at least for the companies, including the state-owned enterprise and also the privately owned enterprise I've talked to, they still look at this more like a compliance. They still look at this like a cost item. So I think that's why if you talk to unlisted company, then they issue bond, but they say, okay, why I need to do this? And then if you talk to the listed company, and then they say that, well, the ESG reporting guideline just published this year only apply to several hundred companies, and we are not those several hundred companies. Why we have to do it? And then when you talk to the, let's say, the SOE, they will say that, well, we will do it if SARS asks us to do it. So I think, again, the general feedback is they're willing to do it only if they're required to do it. So that's really the very common thinking. And then another thing is actually also related to data. Again, sometimes they may not have problem in getting the data, but is there any standardized data they can follow? Would there be any, for example, verification required? Or even if you talk to some SOE, in particular the central bank SOE, they may actually ask is, okay, will this data, if published, actually breach the national security law? Or is it really constitute the state secret? I'm not saying that they don't want to do it, they just have concern. So that's why I think, again, this doesn't represent the whole universe, but I think based on the limited maybe like sample we have checked with, again, they look at this as a compliance item cost center, and also data, in particular for certain SOE, they really need more guidance. So I think these are so far the two feedback we have gotten. But if we, let's say, forget about the issuer, talk to the market participant, let's say the bankers and also the investor, they definitely, I think, welcome, again, the ESG reporting guideline published in Feb. I think it's right before Chinese New Year, and also I think finalized maybe 2 weeks ago, because I think they actually, I think sometimes when we as a market participant, whenever we try to explain to international investor, we have to tell them, oh, China is different, China is different, China is different. I think I'm also sick of saying that. But now, naturally, when we see the ESG reporting guideline, it's actually quite in alignment, maybe again, towards the ISSB, the IFRS S2. I think it's actually the same thing when the, I think 2022, when I think the China also substantially adopt the ICMA, when they define actually green bond need to be 100% exclusive. So I think at least on the taxonomy and also now on the reporting, we are actually moving towards and also quite in alignment with the, what's it called, with the international standards. So I think from the market participant, mainly the arranger, the banker, and also the investor, they actually feel that actually we are on the right track. So you can see the discrepancy between the issuer and also the banker or investor. So that's what I've gathered so far. I'm sure that when I talk with them further down the year, then maybe we may get some different or some additional insight. But that's what I think we gather for the time being.
Thanks, Stan. And I really like the remarks about ESG data and emissions data. And if I want to take that further, with the standard setter and the regulator, Christine, I mean, a lot of, well as investors myself, we are big users of these kind of emissions and ESG data, and a lot of people talks about, the issues for asymmetric information and how do we ensure all these data quality and coverage and comprehensiveness and consistency, and let's go on and on. Like, we'd definitely like to see how the regulator would like to take it from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. So yeah, well, definitely ESG data is a crucial component for climate or sustainability reporting disclosure. So the SFC is also cognizant of this, and that's why it's one of our key initiatives to bring credibility and also transparency around this area. So very recently, SFC has announced that it has sponsored and also supports what we call an industry-led voluntary code of conduct for ESG rating and also data product providers. So this is, with a hope to, increase transparency and credibility, in this area. This effort is really an outcome of a survey or a fact-finding exercise that we conducted earlier. So we've heard that asset managers, they have expressed concerns about the transparency and also the data quality, as well as potential conflict of interest management among ESG ratings and data products. So we hope that this voluntary code of conduct will actually help enhancement of the data quality, reliability and transparency. So apart from that, also at the Green and Sustainable Finance Cross-Agency Steering Group, we also looked into how to address, the data availability issue. So very recently, again, the steering group together with CDP worked together and have come up with this, questionnaire to help particularly SMEs to do their, climate or ESG related reporting. So the digital version of this questionnaire is also available on the steering group's website, and it's, accessible for free. And the second tool that the steering group has come up with to help particularly SMEs, again, to get started in their, climate reporting is what we call a GHG calculator and estimator. So this is a joint effort between the steering group and also the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So it basically helps the SMEs to calculate their own carbon emission footprint based on actual activity levels, and the estimator is more catered to financial institutions, when they need to assess the footprint in relation to the investments or loans, when the underlying entities, carbon footprint information is limited. So apart from those two initiatives, the steering group also work together with Invest Hong Kong and also Cyberport to come up with a prototype ESG fintech map, so which was published last month. So what this map is about is actually, it's a directory of over 50 ESG fintech firms in Hong Kong, so offering, different technological solutions ranging from, say, ESG data analytics, disclosure reporting, and also climate risk modeling and assessment, as well as, digital ESG fintech finance and investments, and also carbon credit offset trading and analytics. So this again, the aim for the development of this map is really to help corporates and also financial institutions to identify, different solution providers in Hong Kong, so that they can find the, technological solutions for their business needs, because, we do see that technology is a key enabler for mobilizing capital at large, and also, for better information flow, so as to just to make sure that, we have a more transparent and, orderly market.
Thank you, Christine. And today's topic is about how to manage transition risk. And I want to touch on a relatively newer concept called just transition. I mean, obviously, it's rising in prominence across governments and discussions in the global community, across business and civil societies. And the issues for just transition is about, like the risk of people and communities being left behind in a changing world. So may I quickly ask the audience, hands up if you have heard about or come across or really looked into the issues of just transition before? Anyone? Wow, we've got a very good mix here. Thank you. So I would love to, quickly touch on this very important, yes, emerging topic. Valerie, from the investor side, I know, there's a lot of engagement on climate, but on just transition, can we learn a bit more from you?
Thank you, Anthony. And it's really useful to understand sort of from the crowd where the level of support is in terms of this important issue as well, because we are also seeing a lot of increasing demand from investors on trying to understand better how just transition does actually ultimately impact their investments. And I talk about this from the perspective of the energy transition and understanding that Asia does need to rapidly transition to net zero. There are huge gaps and hurdles that we need to overcome. And unless the transition process is orderly and just, the communities that will be impacted by the process they won't only be impacted because of the process of transition to sort of declining sort of reliance on fossil fuel, and it will also result in potentially disincentivizing them to support the process because they feel that they're not included in the process, or they don't understand why the transition is necessary in the first place. And so having that conversation is really important, because otherwise we might end up with a result where without understanding the reasons why there is a need for transition, we are faced potentially with a blanket opposition to transition in general, and that is not helpful for the process at all. And so when, again, coming back to the net zero company benchmark, we do have an indicator on just transition, and we are looking at the extent of which companies are starting to look at this. Now, globally, we're only looking at 25% of the companies which are acknowledging just transition as sort of something that they would consider in the process of designing their transition plans. So this is very early stage from a global perspective. I don't even have the statistics for Asia, because I think it would be even much more nascent. And so what that entails is that there is a pending massive sort of potential societal impacts that hasn't been priced into the process, that haven't been considered yet. And so in order to integrate all of these processes such that it's just managed in a just manner, this is something that investors are beginning to realize and really trying to internalize sort of the impacts of the transition. And so I think regardless of industries that we're looking at, the impact of transitioning to a different sort of ways of working could be different, but then ultimately we need to understand that it's sort of embedded right at the beginning of the transition planning, rather than sort of done as an afterthought, because that does make all the difference. And so this is an emerging topic that AIGCC we're also starting to put a lot of time and effort into.
Thank you. So I'm sure a lot of representatives from corporates here would definitely pay more attention to this emerging topic today, and especially when your businesses is either operating in one of those so-called, like EM or emerging markets or developed economies, like either, or you call it Global South or Belt and Road, it's all fall under this, and really a key for you to manage the operating your business risk over those jurisdictions and countries. So if I may invite each of the panelists to make to have a 1-minute sharing or final remarks from your perspective, either from the industries, financial industry, or the accounting professions, investors, regulators, and so forth. What would be the key takeaways that you would like to share with the audience? As better managing the transition risk. Maybe we should start over that side from Diana.
So better managing transition risk, this is really a multiple problem. So it requires really collective effort. So I think the bigger story for all of us should be that there are many stakeholders that have to play together. And this is probably the most important thing. We need to have the corporates, the financial sector, the regulators, the governments, all of them playing their role, because without any of those actually participating, we are going to struggle. Starting with the governments, who have to be clear about their ambition, moving to the regulators, who have to be clear about their guidances to market participants, going through financial sector, which already most of us have transition plans in action and are trying to play their role, and assisting the corporates, including the SMEs, who at the end of the day have to make the transition.
Yeah, thanks. I think 2 points really. First of all, to Stan's point, it's not just a compliance or disclosure exercise. So it has to start from strategy building, monitoring progress, setting targets, risk management processes and controls, and all of that. And that's why I think accountants would be very close to the work, because that's all what we have been doing from a corporate reporting perspective. It's just that going forward, corporate reporting will be extended to sustainability aspects. The other thing is really about building a community here. So to Valerie's point, I think investors very much interested in understanding the financial impacts of ESG risks and opportunities, and that's where we can, fill the gap, so to speak, to link ESG, all the good things we are saying in the sustainability report to financial performance and financial projections.
And especially, I think that especially we talk about, we will be all expecting sustainability and ESG assurance coming, and to bundle with all the emissions and ESG data, I think going forward, it would be a very interesting topic that actually ICPA could definitely organize something and to share with the industry.
Yeah,
love to
it's
learn
all
more.
integrated together, yeah.
Thank you. Valerie?
Thank you, and I think my point would be very similar to that of Diana's point in terms of multi-stakeholder dialogue. Can't emphasize enough how important that is, because every time when I'm being put into a room of very new sort of stakeholders that I don't usually interact with, that's where the dynamics happen, and that's where the very interesting viewpoints comes together and converge. And what I might just add on top of that in particular is, as investors do engage quite closely with the companies, where we're now at in terms of corporate engagement is that it has deepened to a level where it's becoming very nuanced. We're asking companies of what their corporate transition plans look like, and typically it varies from sectors to sectors. There will be different implications. And I'm referring to all of that because the corporates have a lot to offer. They are the experts in their own industries, and to be able to come up with transition plans which does go together with where the market is expecting the trends to go is actually where that conversation needs to happen between corporates and investors and policymakers, because we are sort of charting a new course for ourselves, and we can't rely on sort of any single like corporates alone or policymakers alone or investors alone to have all the answers, because no one has all the answers, but it does certainly take the combined effort of all. So more conferences like these would be amazing. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I can't agree more with that. Excuse me. So yeah, definitely multi-stakeholder collaboration, private-public partnership, at the local level and also, globally. I think that would be very important because after all, I think we are all more or less starting at the same time, in terms of, putting together regulation and all that. So the more convergence we see, the better, disclosure and information will be out there, for investors to make informed decision. So I think I agree that, today's event is crucial, and we definitely will be very supportive of more to come. And just like the SFC, we also organized only a couple of weeks back, roundtable between ISSB and also locally, we invited private companies, private and listed companies together, and also officials, regulators to come into the room for a discussion. So definitely, I think the dialogue should go on. Thank you.
Okay, I think when Anthony introduced me, I think you mentioned about my involvement in teaching for university. I actually met Anthony through our common education interest and vision. I also now with Sintao, I also met our chairman also through a training event. So from my perspective, I'm actually maybe biased, but I think actually education, training, capacity building is very important. Actually, in my past several years, I actually found out that there's a big disparity of knowledge and awareness between, let's say, maybe finance and accounting versus non-finance accounting towards the ESG sustainability. So I think mainly because of the regulation or the job, I think there's a big disparity, or we say standard deviation. And then another thing I also find a big misperception is for those outside banking and finance, they just say ESG, you guys bankers stuff. You guys investor stuff, nothing to do with us. And I think this is a very big misperception. So that's why, again, not just really climate disclosure or addressing transition risk, I think it's really outreach to all the business sector, to really tell them, maybe like, why is it important? Why is it affect everyone? So that's why, again, maybe like China SIF and also Sintao I'm now with, it's not just really doing the, let's say, the business of ESG rating, data, or green finance. We are also actually a very big believer in the capacity building. And that's why, for example, like China SIF work with efforts, and now I think maybe like Sintao may also actually get invited by regulators in terms of how they can actually help the market participant to increase the awareness. So I just think that it's really the wide distribution, not just really to what maybe we are familiar with, but also to a lot of the, I won't say the whole population, too ambitious, but really a wider universe to let them know that it's not just, this is not banking stuff, it's not finance stuff, it's really affect everyone. Thank you.
I think a very well-deserved round of applause of all these seasoned panelists, and for all of you that is spending time digging deeper and learning more about how to manage transition risk today on the Earth Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Please remain still on the stage for a photo. I would like to say as well a huge thank you. So while you are preparing and smiling, I will just continue speaking. Thank you so much for such an insightful dialogue, because it is important. Thank you so much. It is important to carry this message on, that it's coming from all the angles. It is important, hence why I strongly suggest everyone to definitely get more information on the programs from the Friends of Earth, because they are already putting amazing parts and projects into life. Good, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you as well again to the moderator and to the panelists for this invigorating discussion. Let's carry this energy. Do we all have the energy left? Yes, nobody is yawning? No? Okay, good. Let's carry this energy to an important message on marching towards a carbon neutral economy from our guest of honor, Mrs. Li Zhang, Chief Executive. Please come to the stage. From Shanghai Pudong Development Bank. Mrs. Li Zhang, it's yours.
Now turns to me, dressed in green color, earth color. Respect my respect and warm welcome to all of you. Shanghai Pudong Development Bank, CEO of that bank. Here, first and foremost, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all the guests and friends here at SPDB Bank Tower. Especially today marks the 55th World Earth Day. At such an important occasion, it's my deep honor to be one of the sponsors. Shanghai Pudong Development Bank, Hong Kong, is dedicated to be a leading green bank. This event serves as a demonstration of my commitment on green and sustainable development. As we all know, Hong Kong is established itself as an international hub of green finance. Correspondingly, all financial institutions in Hong Kong, including us, are trying to provide more green products, transition products, into the market. SPDB Hong Kong branch, after a steady development, a 12 years development, now we entered into a new phase. We are better positioned to support Hong Kong's initiatives to be a prime center on this area. In the past few years, we have launched a series of new products like new deposits, new loans, and new bonds. And also, we have adopted climate risk control mechanism into our comprehensive risk management framework. Today, I think it's a good opportunity for us to mobilize the whole financial sector to join us in our endeavors and safeguard our common home, the Earth, together. Best wishes to Hong Kong. Welcome all of you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chang. Thank you so much. And now it is with great honor and anticipation that we move towards our second panel discussion that promises to tackle a subject at the heart of our forum: how to develop innovative and reliable financial products for financing the net zero transition. Moderated by Dr. King Au, Executive Director, Financial Services Development Council, and joined by our panelists from the Ayal Holding, the Shanghai Pudong Development Bank, Bloomberg, and the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, and last but not least, Hang Seng Bank. Please join me in welcoming the panelists and the moderator on the stage.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard a lot about policy, about regulation early on. I think this panel is really looking at how we can implement transition finance in terms of products, in terms of ideas. So I have got a very distinguished panel. I'm not going to go through their bios, but I'll just introduce their title. On my left, Shihab Alisha, Ayashi, sorry, on pronunciation, yeah, from Agile Holding, yeah, and then I have Georgina from Hong Kong MA. I also have Shirley from, Michelle, sorry, I got mixed up, Michelle from Bloomberg, and then Shirley from Hang Seng Bank, and then Ron from Shanghai Pudong Development Bank. So talk about transition finance, the risk is really here, because I can ask our friend Shihab to share your experience in UAE, because last week, right, you had a once-in-a-century rainstorm. So definitely we need to address the net zero transition.
Actually, Agile Holding, or let's say UAE government and leadership are not from this year or last year because of COP28. Long-term vision, they have to invest in environmental projects, sustainability project. As you see, our environment is very hard environment, desert, warming, and less of water and resource, as you see. Then we are in Agile, we are commitment to. We are seeing this we're seeing this not as business only. It is a commitment to our environment, a commitment to deliver the net zero economy, and a project. We invest in different type of project, in environmental project, and so. And when we invest, we focus on ESG, environmental and social and governance of this project, and this criteria. We always this is our criteria when we invest. There is a lot of opportunity in UAE. As this is, last year was COP28, yeah. And most of us visit or at least follow up the initiatives and action taken during this COP28. And it was 2023 years was, the theme was sustainability theme. And end of the year, they expand the theme to be, in 2024 also be environmental and sustainability theme. As the oil and gas country, we are producing and exporting oil and gas, and we are industrial zone in this country. We thinking from long time, if you hear about the masdar, okay, to search for new source of energy, different type of energy. Now coming to the hydrogen, green hydrogen energy, and also we working in agriculture using high tech or AI technology to reduce to save the water and to cover all 12 months for agriculture product, because our area is not it is not like others. We don't have water, we don't have resource or like water, we don't have the land suitable for the agriculture project. So we looking for within the Hong Kong or China or other place, we're looking for the company support us to use AI or high tech to an horticulture project like vertical farming and greenhousing and others. And also in the recycling side, tire recycling and hazard industrial recycling like aluminium recycling, oil and recycling. And we have good investment in this field, and also we're looking to be partnership with other investors who's in this field to transfer the knowledge. As I say, we're looking for the know-how, how to do this project with optimal way, and also with the right good result and best practice. We are searching always, we are visiting other to do a benchmarking with the best practice in the world to utilize this their technology and looking for partnership with different sectors, government or private sector, local or international sectors.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely there are a lot of opportunities between
Yes.
UAE and Hong
Yes.
Kong. Yeah, we can probably talk more about that later. Maybe you can also tell us about your company, how you contribute to this transition through financial products and investments.
Yes, I'm not talking only about the company, a GL company. Also in the UAE itself, now we have, you hear about Emirates Development Bank. They finance and funding this high-tech project, environment project, agriculture project. Also we have organization, maybe more than 5 organizations, they support SMEs in this field. They're looking for high-tech project, agriculture project, environment project, oil and gas, energy, new energy, hydrogen, green hydrogen project. That looking for that type of project and finance it, that type of project. And it is not only that if we have a partnership or joint venture with international company, also they provide the finance. But they need a good project, new project, and one of these criteria which I mentioned.
Yeah, thank you. Right. I want to focus still on the end user perspective. So I want to turn to Shelley. Michelle, sorry, because the seating got mixed up, so that's like, so Michelle, yes, so pardon me again. Because we talk about transition. Nowadays, though, everyone is trying to move to a e-vehicle, right? But that means that we have to do a lot more mining, especially in terms of some special minerals such as titanium, nickel, and copper, and so on. So from your perspective, for the metal and mining sector, so what are they doing on this transition front, and what are the major hurdles, and how are they tackling them?
So I think with the energy transition, we cannot talk without metals and the mining transition, as you mentioned, because after all, with a lot of these development like EV or renewable energy equipment, they all require a significant amount of minerals, as you said, like cobalt, lithium, copper, aluminum, etc. So in order to make sure the energy transition, we have to go one step forward. Like we have to make sure the mining process is green. I cover metals and mining for my research area, and I talked to a lot of those mining companies. Actually, even the large ones, they think they see funding as a major hurdle and is a major headache for them. As we also talk to banks, banks are getting very cautious as well. Nowadays, when they issue loans to a company, they're not just looking at the company itself, but it makes sure the whole process, the supply chain from scope 1 to scope 3, they have to meet all the criteria before they're lending the loans. So it adds the difficulties for the mining companies. So how do they deal with it? Actually, there are several ways that they're trying to get over. I talked to like companies, the large ones, you know, Anglo-American. So they're trying to set up some JVs with other companies like EDF to form a JV on hydrogen trucks. And then other like Well or Rio Tinto, they also tried to invest in some clean tech companies in the very early stage to get a hold of it. And then Newmont company also as well, they have been investing in some, or forming some strategic alliance with Caterpillar to tap into the autonomous trucks as well. Because I mean, the banks are getting difficult, and they actually look at all the ESG aspects as well. And as I said, a lot of the mining process are not very ESG friendly. As you see, nickels in Indonesia, they are very driven by coal-fired power. And then if we look at the cobalt, which is very important for EV or for the batteries, is actually a lot of them from the child labor as well. So these kind of concerns actually make the mining companies more difficult to do. But project financing or bank financing is only one way, right? And then we see the trend right now is that solely of getting fundings from the banks is getting less and less. So they are also trying to tap into like family office investment funds or some specialist debt fund as well, try to get around. Yeah, so I think, well, if we're not just talking about the mining companies, if we step a bit further to look at the whole Asia, actually transition funds has gained momentum very strongly, as our financial secretary also mentioned. According to the Bloomberg data, we see that year to date, the transition funds, they have increased by 85 times year on year, yes. Of course, from a very low base as well. But now it has climbed up to the third largest ESG debt. And on the other hand, if we look at the green bonds, which is always the largest ESG bond type, right? It was down by 10% year on year. So we can see there's a shift and the importance to mention about the transition there and their funding needs.
Well, thanks, Michelle, for highlighting the importance of family office. That's one of the reasons why we're trying to develop Hong Kong into a family office hub, is to attract these private capital, long-term risk capital, to help the transformation. Yeah. So on that note, I want to turn to Ron, because you have served as the Secretary General for the Chinese Financial Association of Hong Kong from 2019 to 23. I'm sure you know the situation among Chinese financial institutions very well. So can you share with us how these Chinese financial companies tackle the challenges brought by transition finance and the kind of products that they're looking at?
Yeah, sure, thanks, King. Yes, I worked as the Secretary General of the Chinese Financial Association from 2019 to 2023. I recall back to 2020, we have formed a dedicated working group of ESG and sustainable finance. Since then, we have, even during the pandemic, we have organized a series of seminars and forums to raise public awareness and also share the best practice among the financial industry. Actually, I think talking about the Chinese financial community as a whole, I think the mainland Chinese financial institutions, they are at the forefront of innovation in terms of green finance and sustainable finance. For example, just a few years ago in mainland China, the personal carbon account was introduced by a few financial institutions in mainland China. This is quite interesting. In Hong Kong, I think all the Chinese financial institutions now, they are focusing on establishing the green finance framework. For example, because most of Chinese financial institutions in Hong Kong, they are the subsidiaries of the group companies or parent banks in Hong Kong. So they are trying to form certain committees under the boards or the high-level committees to address the sustainable finance. And I think over the past few years, the Chinese financial institutions that I have worked with, they have leveraged the resources and the experience of their headquarters in mainland China to establish their own the green finance framework in Hong Kong. These green finance frameworks can help them identify, say, which projects qualify for transition finance, and also make sure they can the funds can be used properly or to reduce the carbonization, something like that. And talking about the challenges that the Chinese FIs face in Hong Kong, I think there are quite a few. For example, one of the challenges might be for the Chinese FIs to offer the products or services tailored to the Hong Kong market. Because there are certain, I think, ambiguities or uncertainties in the definition and the scope of green and sustainable. Everybody or every institution has their own understanding about the green and sustainable finance, although they share some common standards. But I think it's quite good. I know Hong Kong is developing the green taxonomy. Hopefully, I think with that coming out in the Chinese FIs can be better positioned to offer more green products or green financial services in Hong Kong. Another major the challenges facing the Chinese financial communities, I think, is the relatively shortage of talent pool, especially in terms of green finance and sustainable finance. For many companies, because I'm the head of the FI of Shanghai Pudong Development Bank, I've got lots of financial institutions partners that they have to train their own staff to become experts in this field. Yeah, this is. I think the relatively shortage of talent pool is kind of challenge for the Chinese FIs. But also in terms of the financial technology, this is also. I think they have successfully tapped into the talent pool in mainland China, especially in bordering Shenzhen. For many financial institutions, like for example Futu, they have got a very large IT force in our neighboring city in Shenzhen. These are the challenges I think facing the Chinese financial communities. But given, I think in terms of the regulation, over the past few years, the Hong Kong MA and other regulators in town, they have published a series of very supportive regulations. They can help the whole financial community to tackle the challenges that they face, and also they can make full use of the opportunities presented by the transition finance. Yeah. And last, I think I also want, as just you mentioned, I think last week, early last week in Dubai, there was heavy rainfall. And I think this serves as a reminder for us all sitting here today, because it's really high time for us to work together. Otherwise, we don't know who will be the next, because it happens. And I mean, I think over the past 70 or 80 years, you haven't encountered such natural disaster in Dubai, right? So this is really a very serious issue. That's why we are sitting here today. We have to work together to respond to climate change, to make transition to the sustainable finance. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned quite a few important points, such as standardization. I think Hong Kong is trying to implement this EU-China Common Ground taxonomy. So hopefully, we'll make this taxonomy can put into practical use, helping with transition finance. You also talked about talent gap. Yeah, that's again something the Congo government is trying to promote, with this talent acquisition scheme. We welcome all your friends from, especially Europe, where they're leading, in terms of ESG, to come to Hong Kong. You also mentioned something that's the previous panel talked about, not just about framework, but also data. Yeah. On that, I want to turn to Shirley. All right, now we're getting the right Shirley. Yeah. Your bank, has been championing ESG, but how do you really tackle these lack of data transparency, or sort of, in a way, lack of standard, framework? So.
Thanks, Dr. And thanks to Friends of the Earth, FFDC, and China CIP for inviting Hang Seng Bank here. At Hang Seng Bank, we are very dedicated to building future-proofed business and helping our customers as well as the market transition to net zero. Now, let me address a few challenges actually mentioned by Dr. Au as well as Ron. So first is, I think, in lack of standards and framework. So as a commercial bank, what should we do? And what we have done is that we want to strengthen our internal governance structure by setting up, for example, Sustainable Finance Forum. And we set an internal government structure. I think CE also mentioned about the internal, some governance structure, very similar to Hang Seng Bank. And for that to label our sustainable finance, to categorize it. And so that is very important, the first step to anti-greenwashing if in lack of the standardized standards and in this transition journey. The second is, I think, regarding the data and the data that is availability and data quality. I think at Hang Seng Bank, we start our so-called client transition journey. So basically, it's as a first step to collect the data, our RMs to talk with the different clients, different sectors. Very important, we identify 6 to 10, we call it high carbon emitting sectors, to get the data from our clients. The data, I think, refer the last panel discussion, Valerie talked about, it's very similar to our data collection process. It's not a historical data. Yes, we need to have some historical data, excuse me, but as well as the forward thinking, means future, means the clients, do they have a target? Do they have the capability, CapEx? How is their transition strategy, so on and so forth. So that put into the data collection to make sure we are doing this as a very first step. And then we know our portfolio very well, and then we can have our decarbonizing strategy for our lending, especially lending portfolios. Last but not least, I think for the whole afternoon, we all agree, I think the previous keynote speakers all said that transition finance definitely is the next biggest thing, right? But I think I searched some data from WRR last December, published some report on GBA, Greater Bay Area. For the whole GBA to achieve net zero, or not net zero, say carbon neutrality by 2016, and peak the carbon emission by 2030. So one is actually we need 1.84 trillion US dollar. Another one, I think for the peak emission, we need 200 something billion US dollar. That is a financial gap. Is not in place. So the report also point out that also related to Ron's point, and I will address is the financial institutions in this area, GBA, including Hong Kong, financial institutions is lack of the willingness and ability. So that is capability. So the last point from the bank's perspective, this year we launched our capability building programs. For all our full-time staff, we have to require ESG for all. That means not only to understand the fundamental basic knowledge of ESG, especially climate change, and also need to embed that knowledge and the skill into each body's your job. Because only with that, we can help our client. And only with that, I think can go back to Valerie's point, how we can have the synergy, because each sector has a sector expert, subject matter expert. And we also, from the financial institution perspective, we're a service provider, we're a product provider, how we can work together. So that is from the Hang Seng Bank's perspective, how to address these three challenges.
Thank you for your sharing, Shirley. I think you highlight the point that I think is important, so it's behavior change. People really need to start embracing, understanding ESG, especially the climate change and transition. On that note, I think, Georgina, I think being a regulator, Hong Kong MA has a very key role to play, right? Because you really drive the direction for the industry. So on that note, can you share with us, the Hong Kong MA's plan for fostering growth in transition finance in Hong Kong and perhaps even beyond?
Sure, thanks. First of all, thanks for inviting me to this panel. I think transition finance is a challenging subject to tackle because the needs are substantial, but at the same time, for some, especially hard to abate sectors, the options are often quite limited. And at the same time, sort of transition compared to, say, green, the definitions and approaches are dynamic. It's hard to define. I think a lot of speakers mentioned about definitions. So we've been, at the HKMA, we've been trying to, look for ways to help, sort of address these challenges through three major categories of actions. First, as a bank regulator, I think quite a number of speakers have mentioned about the taxonomy. So we have been working on that. We issued a consultation paper mid last year, and the first, and have been working on this in phases, right? So the first phase, we hope to release that soon, and also as the next phase, we are looking into transition activities. Really to see how our taxonomy can also take that into account, and we can develop something that is locally relevant and also interoperable across regions, and taking into account all the taxonomy that's already out there, and also experiences in other regions and jurisdictions. So, and at the same time, besides definition, taxonomy, we also seek to help work with banks in their transition planning process. Last year, we also issued some guidelines, in terms of, for banks' reference in formulating their own, transition plans. And we also conducted a survey, to gather, good practices across banks, and we hope to share those experiences. As Shelley and Ron have both mentioned, banks locally have also been working hard on, developing their own, green and transition frameworks. So through that survey, we hope to be able to identify some, common good practices that we can share and facilitate, the planning process of banks themselves. So on the investment front, HKMA, as the manager of Hong Kong's exchange fund, we've set our own net zero target for our investment portfolio. So we have been, over the past few years, we've been looking to step up our investments and look for investment opportunities within our permissible investments to support transition and green efforts in the region or globally. And at the same time, working with our external partners, both internationally and locally, to see where we can promote investments in this front. And finally, I speak a bit more on facilitation. First of all, on the products front, we have a few years ago, the government introduced the Green and Sustainable Finance. I suddenly forgot the name of the scheme. Sorry, Green and Sustainable Finance Grant Scheme, which supports, subsidizes issuances of, green bonds and also the external review costs of green loans in Hong Kong. So the Financial Secretary announced that he would extend that scheme upon its expiry next month for another 3 years, and we will be looking into incorporating transition bonds and instruments in that scheme as well. So that part, we hope through that we can encourage more development on in terms of transition instruments in Hong Kong. And on the other hand, in terms of facilitation, I think speakers before talked a bit about capacity building and also data. So we are doing some work on that, together with other regulators under the cross-agency steering group, on raising awareness and building capacity for not only banks and financial institutions, but also the firms that they serve. So one example is the questionnaire I think Christine mentioned earlier, which we developed, which is a questionnaire which is targeted to smaller firms, non-listed companies, tailored to their scale of business, to provide an entry-level sort of exercise for them to start thinking about their planning, their climate risks, and how they manage it. And as part of the work with this questionnaire, we also tie it in with some capacity building, workshops and seminars, to guide them through the questions of the questionnaire and also discuss some thematic issues such as, transition planning and, measuring GHG emissions. And so looking ahead, we will continue with this work. We'll continue to refine the questionnaire, which is now online. We will also look into, adding different elements, catering it towards, needs of both firms and banks alike, perhaps, how we can better support through our existing tools, banks transition planning, right? So we'll be doing more engagement on that front. And also in terms of, talent development, we will continue to support the government's, capacity building support scheme, which subsidizes the training, ESG related training by, local practitioners and students alike. And so, through these efforts, we hope to raise awareness and also facilitate the planning processes for banks and also firms alike.
Yeah, thank you. It's very encouraging that MA actually is rolling out a lot of supports and initiatives to help the industry, right, to gain traction with transition finance and addressing this net zero transition needs. I want to now go back to Ron, because yes, we on this journey, your clients, especially from the mainland, because being a Chinese bank, you deal with a lot of Chinese firms. So how do you deal with their needs on transition finance? Any insights you can share with us?
Okay, yeah. Actually, being a bank headquartered in Shanghai, and we are also listed in Shanghai. Our Hong Kong branch was founded 13 years ago in Hong Kong, and we have been very active in engaging in the green and sustainable finance. I think over the past 20 years, the bank has published the Corporate Social Responsibility Report for nearly 20 years consecutively, and we are the first Chinese bank to publish such report. And also I think in September 2022, we also joined become a supporting institution of the TCFD, the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosure. So as you can see, we play great attention to the transition finance, just in response to the needs from our corporate and institutional clients. I think over the past few years in Hong Kong, we have offered a series of green projects, including green deposits, green loans, green bonds, and also the sustainability-linked notes, bonds. For example, we also work with other financial institutions or the government organizations in Hong Kong. When we launched our first green deposits in 2022, we worked with Hong Kong QAA, the Hong Kong Quality Assurance Agency, to launch the first green deposits. And we also provide loan with interest rate linked with the sustainability performance of the borrower. So if the borrower meets certain targets of its sustainability performances, it can enjoy a preferential interest rate. So as you can see, we are quite innovative in this field. And also, I think because being a commercial bank, we manage all kinds of risks every day, and we try to incorporate the risk management into our, associated with the climate change, with the sustainable finance in our daily operations. In every process, actually, for example, in due diligence and credit approval, or the annual evaluation of our credit clients. But these measures, these practices are experimental. I think we will continue to optimize in the future because our partners, our clients' needs are evolving. They have their own industry standards or requirements. We have to respond to them. Yes, that's what my sharing. On this.
Thank you. Yeah, Shirley, I want to ask you a similar question among your clientele. Also, actually, if you don't mind, also share your experience with us about SMEs, because we talked about listed companies. I think, with the report standard that they need to meet. But I also understand a lot of SMEs are also finding it a bit challenging for this transition journey.
Let me, if you allow me to address back Ron's traditional sustainable finance product like sustainable loan, linked loan, SARL, and from Hang Seng Bank perspective, we also have investment product because we have the Hang Seng Indexes companies. So since the first to launch our corporate sustainable index in 2010, so far we already launched 29 ESG climate change related indexes. My colleague gave me some data. And because the name is so long, very long, so for example, to today's topic, climate change, we have the Hang Seng Stock Connect China A Low Carbon Index ETF, and Hang Seng Climate Change 1.5 Degree C Target Index. And also another angle is how to help the sectors, the client different sectors. We also have a different sector-specific target. For example, Hang Seng, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Hong Kong Clean Energy Index, and the Hang Seng Stock Connect Hydrogen Energy Index. So clean energy, hydrogen energy, so these are sector-specific index. So you can see all these empowers investors, actually give them an idea if they want to invest in the ESG or low carbon portfolio. And they also give me some data, and I'm not going to repeat here, because we do see that from ESG and low carbon index perspective, that investment in the medium and the long term is really has the excess return. One is 120, 160 something like a basis return. So that is from medium to long term is big return. Now we get back to your question on SME. Yes. That is actually I want to call out because on today's discussion we didn't talk about small and medium companies, right? Yeah. So, but that is Hang Seng Bank as we as a local bank, the largest local bank. You can imagine our portfolio have a lot of SMEs. So SMEs in currently our assessment, SME do not have a drive to do any ESG things, do not have the resources, budget, as well as the capacity, capability. So that's why, so we need to announce this later, but I just say later, okay, this year. So we were going to launch now first of all, we already launched the one Power Up, SME Power Up big campaign, and that is for our CMB banking, commercial banking. And on sustainability specifically, we're going to launch a sustainability fund, okay, to say how we can, from the commercial bank perspective, to help our client, because this client, how can we generate drives? For example, we talk about ISSB. So a lot of our SME are large company supply chain. Scope 3 emission. For example, how can we work with different association, trade association to generate incentives? And then how can we also provide incentive? Because, for example, government, the HKM, the Green and Sustainable Grant Scheme, that is for 1 billion, if I'm not wrong. 1 billion loan. So how about the loan below 1 billion, right? Those SMEs, they cannot actually have such incentive. So how can the bank help with our SMEs? So yes, we try our best to generate, together with other players, to have this ecosystem, to mobilize our customer to help them.
Yes. Thank you. I only have 5 minutes left. I want to go back to the customer perspectives, right? Maybe I'll go back to Michelle. So what do you think the government in general, right, needs to do to speed up transition and funding?
Well, yes, actually there's a lot for the government to do. Perhaps I could take an example of the Europe, how they do it. The emission trading system is one I want to highlight because it has been very effectively to help transition as well as reducing emissions. Actually, in Europe, each year around 150 billion euro revenue could be collected from the system, and then they will redistribute it to the member states to help them in all sorts of renewables or other transitions actions. So also the coverage has been expanding as well. We see that it keeps on expanding to different sectors, including the maritime sectors or transportation or buildings, and that could cover more than 3/4 of total emitting industries in the coming few years. So that's enormous. So back to China, perhaps we could take this as an example or a reference to apply to our ETS system. Of course, we know that China has been the world's largest carbon trading market. So if they could use the same and to redistribute the revenue to help emissions or reducing emissions, that would be very powerful. And we see that the government has been speeding up on developing this side. Currently, only the utility sectors is under coverage, but we see they're moving on, trying to include aluminum or even steel as soon as this year. So you could see the scope has been expanding. And Hong Kong, we could play a key role here as well, like connecting China to the global market. What we could do is, first we talk about standards most of the time. I think Hong Kong could certainly help to establish a more Asia-wide standard and develop perhaps the futures market as well. We know that the carbon pricing right now in China is only spot market. So if we develop futures market, that could have a high potential as well. So this is just one example that I would quote. I actually want to touch on the Just Transition Fund, which Anthony has mentioned previously as well. It's a very new initiative, but I think it's again, is a very innovative way, not just to focus on the economies or the industries that need transition, but also we take care of the others as well who has been negatively impacted to make it all inclusive. And I think it will also reduce the socioeconomic conflicts or concerns after all.
Well, thank you for these excellent ideas. I think that is the information. Definitely should take it back to our research work to see how we can incorporate into our policy recommendation. But I want to conclude this panel by asking our good friend Shihab, because we had a discussion before the panel, how Hong Kong and Middle East, UAE can work together on transition finance. Can you share with us your thoughts, please?
Actually, we will not go out of this theme. UAE, let's say UAE as a government and the private sector, all they're looking for a partner to transfer the technology to the knowledge and experience and cooperate in different sectors like new energy, water treatment, forcing and agriculture, and they looking also for the investor. For banking, if you have a good tools to instrument to in financial green financial, okay, you are welcome. You can work direct with the government, you can work direct with the private sector. Many of projects are running in UAE in this field. And really, as I will discuss, we find many Eastern, before maybe 5 years back, we all seen European and Western company and they're visiting and doing, searching or seeking a business or opportunity in UAE. Now, actually, they started people from Chinese, from Hong Kong, from India. They want to take part of cake. Really, it is very important. And one thing also that always I share with my friends in China or in Hong Kong, you have to present in the UAE. Not only attend a forum or attend exhibition 1 day, 2 days and leave it. No, you have to present there. You have to invest. I'm not going to say invest millions. Invest. Open the office. You have to be always available there. Don't go through a representative. Somebody from you who knows your business, who knows what you need, and he can find many of demand here. But you have to be there. At least you have the presented office there. You have your team, small team. I don't want to start with the big team. And we say, always we're saying this one and we repeat it. Who's first, chicken or egg? No, we cannot, we have to start do something. To start to invest, and you have to be available there. That we can work together and we can link you with the leadership, with the key investors, or with the demand. What is the demand there? This is very important. Exhibition and forum is important, but when you be there in this, you have an office there that you can find a lot of opportunity there, many of opportunities.
Yeah.
And also one thing I want to add, because of the geopolitics, everywhere now is geopolitics, the people, the Middle East looking for the eastern side, Far East, China, India, and it is the right time for Hong Kong to utilize this situation. It's a very good opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, I just borrow 1 more minute. I want to highlight how Hong Kong and the UAE can work together, because you're in insurance as well. Hong Kong is actually the largest catastrophe bond issuance center in Asia. So that's something we can work on together, especially given what you just had in UAE, the rainstorm.
Green crypto.
Yeah. On this note, I want
green, crypto. Yeah. You can do the green crypto mining. Green mining.
Yeah. Right. So thank you. Please join me in thanking our panelists.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the inspiring dialogue. I would like to ask you as well to remain here on the stage. Please join me here on the first step, maybe, or here. Please come together for a picture. Thank you. That's fine as well. There's a reason why we have the lines on the stage. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the panelists and the moderator for the inspiring discussion and conversation. Now, as we are approaching, unfortunately, towards the end of our Inspiring Earth Forum today of 2024, I would like to invite somebody very special, the chairman of China Sustainable Investment Forum and China advisor of the United Nations Environment Programme Finance Initiative, to the stage for the closing remarks. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Peiyun Guo. Thank you.
Thanks, moderator. Dear Preto Yip, Ken O, distinguished speaker and panelists, and ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining. And I think today is the Earth Day, and I think we have a meaningful discussion on this important topic that made today more meaningful. So thanks for really joining us. And I think from the discussion today, we can realize the important chance of transition finance for two reasons. One, this is quite urgent because people talk about the storm, the extreme weathers that happened in the past few days, few weeks, few months, and in the past few years. So I think we have to do something to tackle this climate change challenge. And second, I think we also realize, particularly from the last panel, that it has great potential. So many people, when we talk about green finance, we realize that green finance is a big market. And I would tell you, the transition finance is even bigger because not so many assets can be called as green assets, but quite a lot of assets, or we can say almost all assets need to transfer from high carbon to low carbon. So that's the great potential, right? And from the discussion today, I think we also highlight the importance of two things. One is transition taxonomy or standard, because if there's no standard, then will be no high quality transition. Then will be greenwashing, etc. So I think we talk about taxonomy, we talk about standard. So this is one important thing. And the second important thing is disclosure and reporting. We talk about ISSB, we talk about portfolio disclosure, etc. And I think that's also the latest movement, because if you look at the market closely, then you will realize that a week ago, then in Shanghai and in Shenzhen and in Beijing Stock Exchange, they just launched the ESG reporting guide or sustainability reporting guide that require scope 1 and 2 emission for some company starting from financial year 2025. And last Friday, we also see the implementation guideline of climate disclosure by Hong Kong Exchange, asking the same thing. So for some large listed company, they have to start scope 1, scope 2 emission data disclosure starting from financial year 2025. So I think disclosure is another important topic. And of course, when we talk about this important topic, we cannot just talk, we need to walk the talk. So we need to make some actions. And I think the action is both on the financial sector and on the corporate sector, on the corporate side. And as you can see, I'm the China advisor to UNEP-FI. So in the past few years, actually, UNEP-FI already called up quite a lot of financial institutions, particularly banks and insurance companies, to push to support and facilitate the net zero movement. So 5 years ago in 2019, we launched the Principle for Responsible Banking, and 12 years ago in 2012, we launched the Principle for Sustainable Insurance, and both will ask the financial institution to work together to support the net zero. And we also have some initiative for net zero alliance for the banking sector, for the insurance sector, and for the asset management sectors. And in Hong Kong, the Bank of East Asia, actually, they just announced early this year that they join and support the Net Zero Banking Alliance. I think this is a great movement as well. And for the corporate side, I think we should also take action. And I think it's not easy because we already talk about the costs and benefit, the incentive, particularly for the SME. And I think the financial sector, financial institution can play a role to leverage the power of the financial sector to support the transition of the real economy. And in China, we just launched last year the so-called CCEI, China Climate Engagement Initiative, that we get together around 27 asset management firms trying to leverage the investment power to facilitate the listed company or the investee company in their portfolio to support their transactions. So I think there are quite a lot of things that we can do. And I would also like to take this opportunity to say thank you to our co-organizer, our partners, Friends of the Earth in Hong Kong, and also FSDC in Hong Kong. I think without their team, I'm based in Beijing, so I think I really appreciate the on-the-ground support and work and hard work of the team in Hong Kong to make this happen. I think I really appreciate that. And I also want to take the opportunity to say thank you to our sponsors in West Hong Kong, and also the Bank of Communication, and also our venue sponsor, Shanghai Pudong Development Bank, Hong Kong branch. And also thanks our honorable speaker and panelists and all of you. Again, I think this is an important topic. Today it's an important day, so it's really useful and meaningful to talk about this important topic in this important day. But it's not enough. We cannot just talk about transaction finance in Earth Day, right? We need to talk about this every day, and we need to walk the talk. So I hope you can keep this in mind, and we will see each other next year in next year's Earth Forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. 谢谢 Dr. Guo. Thank you so much. That was a very inspiring and empowering. And I couldn't agree more. We need to walk our talk. So I want to see right now all the hands up. Who is going to contact Friends of the Earth? They don't know because that wasn't in the script. Huh? Who is going to contact Friends of the Earth to collaborate with them on their recycling programs? Hands up now, otherwise I'm not letting you out. Good. Friends of the Earth, did you take a picture? Yeah? Okay. Good. Then we have that done. Thank you. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining to today's event. It is indeed a very pivotal moment. It's not only about the finance, and it is as well about taking the action. Now, we've seen many things today. We've seen the power of collaboration, the power of inspiration, the power of partnerships, and how the Middle East is welcoming us, and how they want to learn and exchange of ideas as well. Now, we are deeply grateful for all of your participation. Thank you so much for staying that long. It's not only that I wanted to get your commitment or a picture, so all good, huh? But thank you so much for staying here and participating so much with your energy in today's forum. I would like to wish you, on behalf of all the organizers and the wonderful initiative that we had today from our social entrepreneurs, I would love to wish you a happy Earth Day. And please remember, when you switch off tonight the light for Earth Day, remember to switch on your mindset so we can actually change the world for our future generation. Thank you. Happy Earth Day. Thank you so much.